All right, bud, so we're in the gym. We're gonna go through the workout that I emailed you when you're watching the video. I would, again, just like the food video, having the food list, I would have the workout plan in front of me so you can use it as a point of reference. I'm gonna go through each exercise. Some of them are gonna be pretty self-explanatory. Some of them we can get super technical with, the squat, the deadlift, the shoulder press, the bench. I'm a huge believer in form over weight. There is nothing more important than form because you want to make sure you stay safe, and over the course of time you will not be able to work your muscles the way they should, and you also will not be able to put yourself in a position to do more and more weight as time goes on. So we're going to talk about the highlights of it. I'm going to try to not get as technical as possible, but I'm going to give you what I feel the most important things to do for your best success. While we're on the subject, you're going to see the weights that I set up for you. I'm using as a point of reference on what numbers were given to me. If these weights are too heavy or certainly too light, let me know and we can adjust them. Obviously, you can adjust them yourself. The idea is to work hard. Your first couple sets in every exercise, you're gonna have a warm up, you're gonna do 10 reps or so, and then when you really want to get into that range eventually, where after your warm-up sets, you're doing 3 or 4 sets of the average of about 5 reps. That's the way to build muscle, that's the way to build strength. So, as we said, we're doing everything as a baseline, and we'll adjust as we go. One of the things that you're gonna see that I'm gonna really push you on as we move forward is pushing your heavier weights. I'm a huge believer, and I was taught a long time ago, that you cannot move weight that you've never felt before. What do I mean by that? Let's say you're benching 150 pounds as your max, and you can only do 1. And over the course of time, you build that 1 rep to 5 reps to 6 reps. That's great, but you never lift again. When you go to lift 160, it's still gonna be really hard. Where when you're lifting 150, once you can do 150 2 or 3 times, you've gotta go and try the 150 or the 160 and get it up at least once. That will help you for the lighter weights, and that will help you continue to climb the ladder. As we talk about things in the video and we move forward, we'll get into more detail with that. You're gonna see on your workout, Mondays and Thursdays, you're gonna bench and you're gonna squat. On Tuesdays and Fridays, you're gonna deadlift, you're gonna do shoulder press. On Wednesdays, you're gonna do rack pulls, you're gonna do shrugs, pull-ups, and dips. I'm assuming you can do pull-ups and dips. If you can't, you'll do as many as the workout says, as many reps as you can to 10, and if that's 1, then 1 rep is 1 set. You will not be able to do pull-ups and dips unless you try doing them. All the other exercises will help you and make you stronger, but the actual movement of a pull-up and a dip can only be accomplished over time by doing it. You'll see on the bottom, Monday through Friday, there's one extra implement of working out. So on Monday, we're gonna push the sled. On Tuesday, we're gonna drag the sled. On Wednesday, we're going to, basically your pull-ups and your dips are gonna be that. Thursday, we're gonna plate carry, which we'll talk about. And then Friday are farmer's carries, farmer's walks. So I'm gonna go through each one. Obviously, I'm not gonna go through bench twice, squat twice. So we're gonna go through the 4 main compound movements, which is going to be your bench, squat, deadlift, and shoulder press, okay? So, biggest thing with bench, there's 3 things I want you to concentrate on. One is where your hands are, okay? You don't want the bar resting in your fingers. You want the bar resting on the palm right here, which is your bone. Reason being, if the bar is here in your hand, this is how it's gonna sit. So if you're pushing, right, like this, now if you put the bar in your hand here, you're pushing like this. Here's my hand pushing, support with muscle, tendons, ligaments, no power. Keep your hand like this, piston, up and down, bone on bone on bone. That's the way you want to make sure your hands. That's super important. The other thing, and when I lay down, you'll see, you don't want to arch your back up, but what you want to do is you want to engage your traps and you want to push your shoulders together. So you actually want to be like 1/8 of an inch, essentially the small of your back, kind of off the bench. And that's going to do 2 things. It's going to give you power from your traps in the back of your shoulders, It's also going to allow you to use your legs and drive with your legs to push. Everybody thinks that bench is all chest. It's a majority of your chest, but there's definitely no reason that you shouldn't be using your legs. The other thing, and the last thing, is a combination of where you hold the bar and where the bar lands, okay? You want to hold the bar not so far in, and out, and not so far in. I'm going to show you on the bar where I think you should put your hands, and then obviously when you're coming down, that's the part 2 of it, okay? You come down too far here, super dangerous, way activating too much of your shoulder. Come too far here, you're holding the bar over here, again, no power. You literally want it right across the nipple line, okay? That's exactly where you want it to fall, and every single time, that's where you want it to fall, okay? So, what you're gonna do is you're gonna line yourself up on the bench. The part on the bar, that is the rigid part. You have smooth, you have rigid. This is called knurling, okay? This is where you grip. What I would do is I would put my thumb on the edge of the knurling of the bar, and that's where I would hold it, okay? And again, you see the bar is resting on my hand, okay? So my arm and my hand are all straight, okay? Do not bench like this. You see people hold the suicide grip because all you're doing is letting your thumb support. So you still want to grab it, but you want to keep your hands straight. Everything is perpendicular up and down, okay? Second thing, so we're going to drop the bar. We're going to hit just above our chest, right at the nipple line. Boom. You're going to come right down. Boom. Okay? So now, the setup. What you're going to want to do is you're going to kind of want to like squeeze, like if you could, you can't do it obviously, but if you were to squeeze your shoulder blades together, okay, and you're going to kind of push down on that. So you can't see it, but the small of my back is just above the bench. What does that do? What does that feel like now? What you should feel like is your feet are firmly planted on the ground and you actually can get leg drive. So once my shoulders are pinned and I'm ready to go, I'm going to set up my hands, okay? And now when I go to get this off, when I come down and I go to push, I literally have everything going in my way. I got the piston with my hands going. I got the leg drive extra. It's hitting my chest perfect. And you just drive. And every time the same thing. So it's going to take some practice without a doubt. There's a lot to it. I'll send you some links to some guys on YouTube that can probably maybe even explain it better than me. It's kind of like a golf swing, okay? There's a lot of little things that you always got to think about, but once you get them down, you won't have to think about them anymore, and it'll just come second nature. But for safety reasons and for numbers reasons, the little things that I just told you, between your shoulder blades, your back, your feet, your hands, everything up and down, coming down at the right place, could add 20 pounds to somebody's bench just off the street. If they were benching unconventionally, like the wrong way, let's say, and they were benching 150, if I set them up on the bench like this, I'm telling you now, 20, 25 pounds, they'd be able to lift just based on those things. So that's bench. Okay, let's talk about squat. Again, lots of technical things to deal with squat. Again, with form with squat, the biggest thing is your back, okay? Yes for power, yes for maximum muscle building capabilities, but as time goes on, it's saving your back. If you squat improperly, all you're doing is asked to get hurt, okay? Again, form is most important. Check your ego at the door when you go to the gym. I'm telling you, trust me when I tell you, the muscle and the strength will come. Don't worry about lifting light weights. Don't worry about somebody else looking at you. When I do some of my shoulder exercises, when I do like side and front delts, I do 5 pound, 10 pound weights. I don't give a shit about anything. I don't care what anybody else thinks. I know what I'm doing is right for me. So what you're gonna do, obviously, is get yourself a squat rack. So again, on the out, you're gonna have these little lines in the knurling. A lot of bars will have it. Basically, I kind of like just to grab it there. You wanna grab it, give yourself support. So you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna get underneath it, right? One step back, okay? Now, let me talk about that for a second. when you start squatting or benching or doing anything with a lot of weight, you want to move your feet as absolutely little as possible. So I'm going to show you how I set up for the squat, so that way I literally can just take the step back and be done with it. Now, if you have a rack that's set up a little different where you can get it off the bar and you don't have to worry about taking the step back, mazel, don't do it. So again, I'm going to set up my hands. I'm going to set up my feet just about shoulder width apart. You want to keep your feet pretty straightforward, just out a couple degrees to the left and to the right. So I get underneath and I take my step. I get set. I'm off. One step back and I'm set. I don't have to mess around. I'm not popping my feet back and forth. You don't want to do that. The biggest thing when you're squatting is you want to keep your back as straight as possible. What you actually want to do is basically, if you could actually imagine sitting in a chair. So you want to sit in the chair. My legs are super sore. I can't go super deep because I actually squatted Monday for the first time in a while and my legs hurt really bad. So, but what you want to do is you want to think of yourself sitting in a chair. Back straight, sitting in a chair. Keep your head up, back straight, sitting in a chair, okay? Now, one of the things, and the best advice I can give you about squat, is besides keeping your back straight, sitting in a chair, is your feet. Two things. When you're squatting and you're moving, if you're coming up on the front of your feet, okay, you are dangerously close to falling and hurting yourself, and you are squatting wrong and you're leaning forward. I don't even have to look at it. I can tell you that's what you're doing. What you want to think about, and I know this is weird, but think about it. You don't want to think about lowering the bar. You want to think about if you can actually push into your heels and you're pushing the ground down. So when you're down, you're not pushing up with your legs, you're literally pushing the earth down, and that's what's straightening you out. If you can think that, so when you're down and you're pushing on your heels, just stand up and do it. Meaning stand up like I'm standing now, come on down, right, just a little bit, and come up on your heels. Aside the fact that you feel super unbalanced, feel your legs, feel your front, feel your back. Now do the same thing. Put your heels down, come down, and now push on your heels. You will feel every muscle in your leg engaged way more. So you want to come on down, sit in the chair, keep your back straight. It's always good to look up. That just helps keep you back. And keep everything's on your heels, and you push with your heels. I know it's a lot. I know it's hard to see in a video. Again, I can send you some links to some guys on YouTube that probably can explain it better to me. But the biggest thing is keep your heels down, keep your back straight. You do those two things, you'll be a squatting beast.